Baby Yoda. Today, something completely different. I'm putting in a used headliner into Baby Yoda. Now, one of the disadvantages of using a used headliner is, you know, when they originally put these headliners in, I'm sure it had a bunch of extra material. They pulled it tight, glued it, and then cut the material off. Well, I don't have all that extra material because this was used in another truck. So I got to be careful to put all the glue and everything, get it in just the right position to glue it in there. Now, the one problem that I had is the used headliner that I bought on eBay that was in mint condition. The color was faded out. It looked like crap. So I'm going to have to use Colorbond. Do I have any out here? Had to grab a can of paint. Now, the problem with the headliner I bought that was in mint condition on eBay, while the vinyl was in great shape, there's no tears or anything, it was faded down and looked kind of like crap. So we're going to be using Colorbond LVP Refinisher, which stands for leather, vinyl, and plastic refinisher on it to make it match everything else. And indeed, almost everything else in the cab that's vinyl or plastic will be painted with Colorbond so everything matches. So let's get going. Took out the back window again so I can get the headliner installed. Yay! This is the old headliner, and why I'm replacing it, it's probably my fault. Well, actually, truthfully, it's all my fault. You can see where I painted over the edges of it where the window was. It made it really, really, there we go, brittle. And where it was brittle, it started to rip and tear. So I decided to replace it. Well, you can't buy these anymore. So I found a used one on eBay, and they said, it's in mint condition, and that's questionable, but it is in really good shape as far as, like, it's not dried out or anything. The vinyl isn't, and it had one little tear here that I took an extra piece of vinyl and glued on the backside just so it wouldn't go any bigger. So I'm waiting for this to dry, and then I'm going to paint it because this is obviously the wrong color. Now, I use Colorbond. Now, I've been a Colorbond user for many, many years, and they don't give me anything. And Malcolm, the guy that used to work there, who I met at SEMA, he was a great person. Evidently, they got a whole new crowd over there. But I've been checking out different colors. Chrysler Dark Mist Gray, I believe, is going to be the color closest to it. So I'm going to mix it up, and we're going to see how close it is to the old one. It doesn't have to exactly match, but something close. Now, this one, it's got mold and everything on it. It's nasty. I believe this is going to be pretty close, and this is faded out a little bit, so you got to remember that. Probably faded out just a little bit, but it doesn't have to be exactly perfect. Had I washed it, it probably would have been a little better. But hit this again. Alright, I'm going to let that dry and we'll see what it looks like. Alright, I got it painted, and I used a different color called Toyota Mist. It's lighter, it's not as dark as the other one. If you look over here, you can see that the plastic is, let's see, let me flip this up. This is the factory plastic color, you can tell. And the plastic itself on the dash is darker than this. So I was trying to match the original headliner color, and this is some of that Toyota Mist that I sprayed on it, and it's almost identical to that. So yeah, it's a different color, but it looks great, and it's going to be a little bit lighter than, say, the darker plastic pieces. But this should look just absolutely phenomenal. I love it. Once the color dries real well, then I will use a Dash Clear Permanent Protective, which is a satin finish, and it will put just a little bit of sheen to it, but it'll also put some protectant on it, because this is going to dry pretty flat once it's dry. Alright, I put the satin clear on it. I'm happy with it. I'm going to let it dry overnight, and it'll be ready to install tomorrow. I don't think I'm going to get it much better than that, so, you know, that is what it is. These It's unbelievable what some of these parts go for these used Toyotas. This was like 225 bucks for a used headliner, and you can find a new one for like 300, but it doesn't even match the factory one, so that's why I went with this. But painted and with the clear protectant on it, this looks absolutely beautiful. So I'm very happy with this. Let it dry overnight, like I said, and slap her on there. Still working on the front end. I need to wash it, but the new bumper, the one that looks good, didn't come with any bolts, and the bolts that came with the crappy bumper are just as crappy as the bumper itself. So I'm waiting for some Toyota bolts to come in for the bumper. It's just freaking one thing after the other. I got the hood latch put back in and the grill installed, so looks really, really nice. I don't know if you can see it, but this is the color of the original, which matches this really fairly well, to be honest with you. So we're going to roll with that. Oh yeah, this headliner is going to look beautiful. I've got the 3 rods put in where they're supposed to be, and then I'm going to work from the back to the front. This is a little bit more difficult than probably the factory one, because I would say originally they had more vinyl that they pulled up and then cut it after it was glued, and I'm having to deal with this edge. But I bought for $9.99 at Lowe's, they had these clamps, so I should be able to spray it with glue and then put those clamps on and let it dry, and then work my way forward, and because everything kind of shifts forward and tightens up. So that's kind of the goal on that. Not a lot of instruction manuals on how to put a headliner in these things. I got the side vent pieces ready to paint, and I'm going to be shooting those babies and slapping them on here in just a short amount of time. Okay, so I've made sure that it's pretty much centered on both sides where the seam is from the existing one. So I'm ready to start gluing back this back piece, and then I'll work forward, but I'm just going to glue the back for now. The glue that I used for the repair and also around all the edges that I'm gluing it down to with the clamps is the HH66 vinyl cement. It's supposed to be waterproof. It's supposed to be like a rock star of vinyl adhesives, so it shouldn't move or have any problems with it. Ooh wee, there's the clamp brigade right there. It's drying up, so we'll give it a few, and then I can start moving forward, gluing the rest of it. But I think this is going to look great. She's looking pretty good. Now, what I was going to do is just work my way forward, but what I think I'm going to do is go ahead and do the front and then do the sides, because that'll pull it forward rather than doing the sides and then not having any way to pull forward. So that's going to be the goal on it, but it's looking really nice. I like it. I think it's going to turn out nice. I bought this on eBay because I had destroyed the old one, and that's kind of how it goes when things get old and dry and whatever. This is brown, so I got to paint it the right color, but this is the rubber stripping that goes across the front because I had jacked up the other one cutting it off. So awesome. Headliner's in. I think it looks excellent. I don't think it needs any more paint, but we'll see. I'll let it sit for a while, and if I have to, I can always shoot a little more color on it and some clear. But as far as like being installed, the vinyl is in great shape. No tears, no rips. Everything's glued in, so I can put the back window back in. So there you go. Awesome. Here's the old dashboard, and it's ready to go back in. I was going to go ahead and get this cleaned up, flattened out, filled in, and then ready for the new cover. Alright, this is how anal it's gotten for me, which is kind of sad, really. But you see this brake handle? It says oil and turn. I could paint it black, but I'll show you what I've done. Holy crap. I bought one that was in fairly good shape on eBay, and then I took some of these touch-up micro brushes and touched up the white in the pull and turn, and then clear coated it with the vinyl paint So it looks really, really nice. Wow. And one thing that I noticed is that that isn't even straight from the factory. The pull and turn is just a little bit off center. So quality control was off a little bit anyway. There's my center console plastic surround. Washed it up today. I got a couple little holes to patch. And I got some new used rubber surround that has to be painted to match the gray. Alright, I think I'm going to call it a night. I've got to get the fan installed, double check all the connections on the AC. It's not leaking on the AC portion of it, but I want to make sure that the ducting is correct. Put in the defroster. Then the next thing is to get this plastic housing painted and installed, because this is what everything mounts to. And the interior will really start looking a lot different once we get this put in. This is the, I gotta paint it, but this is the AccuForm plastic door panel. Instead of the cardboard with vinyl, it's hard plastic. And it actually looks really nice. So once I get it painted, get all the window stuff in there, we'll be reinstalling that. The vinyl color that I picked is Chrysler Dark Mist Gray. And if you look, let's see if I can shoot something that won't matter. It's actually pretty close to the original color, so this is going to look great. Alright, that's going to be it for me tonight. I'm tired, I'm worn out. This has been just like one little minuscule thing after the other, getting bolts cleaned up and finding these pieces and parts and where's the door handle. And so anyway, like I said, a lot of this is self-inflicted of trying to do a really nice job of putting the interior back together and all the door parts. If this was one of my work trucks, it'd already be back on the road and be driving. However, I've been putting a lot of extra effort into trying to do, I wouldn't call it a concourse restoration, but when you look at it, I want you to be able to say, hey man, that looks really, really nice. So I think I'm accomplishing that, but it's just wearing me out at this point. Where are we at percentage-wise? Well, I can tell you that I'm a lot further than I was like a month ago, 2 months ago, where it sat for 4 years. So great. I'm going to say that I'm at least 50%, maybe 65, maybe 70% really. Once I get the interior back in, the only thing I got left is the bed and do a little frame painting, and this thing's back on the road and a little bit of tune-up work. Appreciate you watching. Any questions, comments, post them below. Baby Yoda is looking a lot better. I'm David from the Redneck Garage. Keep turning wrenches.